Hello, history friends. This is our Civil War assessment. Part one is rhetorical devices, and this is Lincoln's second inaugural address. Here's some background info for you. On March 4th, 1865, only 41 days before his assassination, President Abraham Lincoln took the oath of office for the second time. Lincoln's second inaugural address previewed his plans for healing a once divided nation. The directions say, using the speech below and the corresponding highlight colors, demonstrate your understanding of the rhetorical devices by identifying one example of the three rhetorical devices that we discussed in class. Then below explain how that this is an example of that rhetorical device. As a reminder, the three devices we talked about were ethos, pathos, and logos. You will have a total of 3 sections of the speech highlighted and 3 explanations. So you're going to highlight ethos in red, which is character and credibility, pathos in green, which is that appeal to emotion, and logos in yellow, which are facts and logic. Here's what Lincoln says. Fellow countrymen, at this second appearing to take the oath of the presidential office, there is less occasion for an extended address than there was the first. Then a statement somewhat in detail of a course to be pursued seemed fitting and proper. Now, at the expiration of 4 years, during which public declarations have been constantly called forth on every point and phase of the great contest which still absorbs the attention and engrosses the energies of the nation, little that is new could be presented. The progress of our arms, upon which all else chiefly depends, is as well known to the public as to myself, and it is, I trust, reasonably satisfactory and encouraging to all. With high hope for the future, no prediction in regard to it is ventured. On the occasion corresponding to this 4 years ago, all thoughts were anxiously directed to an impending civil war. All dreaded it. All sought to avert it. While the inaugural address was being delivered from this place devoted altogether to saving the Union without war, insurgent agents were in the city seeking to destroy it without war, seeking to dissolve the Union and divide effects by negotiation. Both parties deprecated war, but one of them would make war rather than let the nation survive, and the other would accept war rather than let it perish. And the war came. 1/8 of the whole population were colored slaves, not distributed generally over the Union, but localized in the southern part of it. These slaves constituted a peculiar and powerful interest. All knew that this interest was somehow the cause of the war. To strengthen, perpetuate, and extend this interest was the object for which the insurgents would rend the Union even by war, while the government claimed no right to do more than to restrict the territorial enlargement of it. Neither party expected for the war to be the magnitude or the duration for which it has already attained. Neither anticipated that the cause of the conflict might cease with, or even before the conflict itself should cease. Each looked for an easier triumph and a result less fundamental and astounding. Both read the same Bible and prayed to the same God, and each invokes his aid against the other. It may seem strange that any men should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces, but let us judge not that we be not judged. The prayers of both could not be answered. That of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purpose. Woe unto the world, because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to that man by whom the offense cometh. If we shall suppose that American slavery is one of those offenses which in the providence of God must needs come, but which having continued through his appointed time, he now wills to remove, and that he gives to both North and South this terrible war, as the woe due to those by whom the offense came, shall we discern therein any departure from those divine attributes which the believers in a living God always ascribe to him? Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray, that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet if God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsmen, 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword, As was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. With malice towards none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. Okay, crew, so as you were reading through that, hopefully you found an example of an ethos, a pathos, and a logos, and then you are going to highlight it and then explain to us in these boxes how your highlighted quote is an example of that literary device. All right, part 2, we're going to ask you about Fort Sumter, and we want you to answer these in complete sentences. So this is all about the beginning of the war. 1A says, where did the first battle of the Civil War take place? And 1B says, was that a Union or a Confederate state? Feel free to pause this and type and then come back and hit play when you're ready. Question 2, why were there Union or North soldiers trapped in the fort? Question 3 is about the overall impact of that battle. So 3A, what was the outcome of the conflict at Fort Sumter? 3B, who shot first? And 3C, how did each side feel about what had happened? Part 3 of our test is a photo analysis. We want you to answer this in complete sentences again. So Matthew Brady and Alexander Gardner. 1A, what were the goals of Gardner's gallery or museum? And 1B, were the photos that Brady took effective in accomplishing those goals? Question 2, does the fact that he staged or altered the photos by moving the soldiers' bodies change the historical impact of the photos? Question 3, view the photos in this document. So you are going to click here and you are going to open this up. And on this new doc, we have several photos for you to take a look at. There are 4 total. You're going to choose one today. And then it says, when you go back to the test, choose one to analyze for this assessment. Which photo are you going to be using? So please type in 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then we'd like you to make 3 observations about the photo. So what's taking place in this photo? Where are they at? Who are these people? What's going on? So you'll make 3 observations and then you'll be done with that step. And when you're ready for question 5, it says, how would the photo that you chose to analyze have impacted people's perspective or thoughts of the Civil War? Part 4 is going to have us look at a cartoon analysis. So view this image. The title says, Secessionists Leaving the Union. We have the word Union here and the word secession here. Number 1, what's the main idea or overall message of this political cartoon? Question 2, who would agree with this cartoon and why? And question 3, who would disagree with this cartoon and why? All right, when you're done, you can go ahead and hit submit on Google Classroom.